Good morning, here's Kramer's Corner with a daily technical update. It is 30th of April, and today we'll start with Tesla. That jumped 15% yesterday. At one point was even up even more. What it did, it actually opened and closed above this gap area. Have really strong signal. Also RSI closed above 60. So now the next couple of days could be really interesting. Will it actually also close the little gap here that it didn't manage to close some time ago, meaning it should close above 207.83. If it does that, then it also closed that and closed above 100 moving average and above the cloud. And the RSI indicator is actually suggesting that that could play out over the next days or weeks. If it slides back to close below 183, then maybe this was just a blip on the way, and then it could potentially drop back again. And if it then closed below 170, then we are back in bearish sentiment. So really key levels to look out for here. Moving on to the indices, that of course was helped a little bit by Tesla's 50% jump, but it didn't really do much to S&P 500, only 0.3% higher and still below 5,146. That should be observed for a bullish move, and we need to have the RSI back above 60. So still struggling a little bit here, but let's see the next few days. Also Nasdaq closed just below the 17,808 resistance, but we really need to get back above 18,000 and back above the cloud to change this somewhat bearish view that could resume fairly soon. So keep an eye on those levels there. EUROSTOXX 50 rejected once again just below 5,035. So really struggling there. And also again DAX spiked a little bit above the resistance, but still below. So struggling. We could be range bound between 17,620 and 18,192. So this is the range. You can also see 21 moving average coming down there, 55 up there, kind of squeezing it in. The underlying sentiment is bullish, however. So if we get close above at that level and RSI back above 60, then there's really strong upside potential, but then we need those levels to be taken out. AX yesterday was from the beginning when we talked yesterday morning. Philips was really strong, up almost 40% or something like that, and we had the main index on the Amsterdam exchange well above 883 resistance, but closed below in about this is like a gravestone doji-like candle actually. That's the top of a reversal, so it's really struggling. It really needs to close above 883 to gain further upside potential there. Also CAC rejected at 8,126, and the Swiss still below this 11,380, also rejected there yesterday. So they are the party for the bulls is not really started or restarted just yet. A bit calmer on the FX market this morning. We still have euro dollar trading sideways. Canada actually push up to the 61.8 retracement at 107.710. With the announcement that is planned to come out tomorrow with FOMC and everything, maybe that could push it a little bit. Otherwise, it'll take out to 106.73. If it does that, then there is potential further down towards 106, 105. So we are really at a crossroad here, I believe, the next few days. Cable actually closed above the 61.8 retracement and the 200 moving average, but now back below, and we are still in a negative sentiment on the RSI, so it could resume downtrend. If it takes out the spike up there yesterday at 125.70, then maybe there could be a push up to 786 retracement at 126.20. 22, and where we also have the 55 and the 100 moving average kind of putting a lid on it. So next day or two maybe could be a little bit decisive. If it slides back in this region and especially takes out 124.49, well, then a downtrend has resumed. The yen pairs are a little bit pain at the moment after the massive move yesterday, because this is actually your range. However, we do have RSI still in a positive sentiment with no divergence, indicating we are likely to slowly push higher in the coming days. If it takes out the lows from yesterday on dollar yen, 154.50, well, then we could see a sell-off down to around 152.80, maybe even 151.75 below the lower rising trend line here. You can see a more in-depth analysis I did yesterday on dollar yen with the bigger picture, but we can just really quickly look at it because I think it's actually quite interesting. It's on the monthly chart. See what I'll do here. We have the monthly chart. So if I zoom in quite a bit there, so we are actually up in a region we've not seen since the 1990s. So is this a 1, 2, 3, 4 corrective? And then an extended 5 up and a very irregular 5, which I'm also alluding to in my piece from yesterday. It could actually push all the way up to 170, 173, maybe even if it takes out the spike up yesterday. There is massive divergence on the RSI, however, so it's a little bit of crossover. But if it does take out the falling trend line here, and this is the monthly, so it's a little bit more longer term here, and takes out the spike here from a couple of months ago, well, then there is potential higher, but it is still really up in the air. This is with the, just the big helicopter view there. You can read more about it in the in the piece I published yesterday only on dollar yen. We have euro yen, also this massive move, which actually took it down to the 61.8 retracement, quite interesting, within a few cents at 165.87. Just above the also the previous peak here and support 165.35. Which way to break out? Well, there's no divergence anymore, so I can remove that one because it actually cancelled. So there's still positive sentiment without divergence. So we should see euro yen pushing higher. Let's see if we'll get hammered back down again, but it should push higher in the coming weeks. Also yen, also no divergence really. Should push higher, but it seems a little bit struggling here. If it takes out yesterday's low at which it was actually a half of that uptrend there, 101.38. If it takes out that, well, then we are seeing a sell-off down to the 100 level again. But if it can keep itself up, then it slowly should be ticking up. Sterling yen, same picture really. Corrected down to the 61.8 of the last uptrend here, and if it takes out the lows from yesterday, then we're looking at testing the lower rising trend line and 192.50 maybe spiking down to the trend line. So that's where we are on sterling yen there, and Aussie dollar rejected at the 100 moving average and the 786 retracement and the cloud, and seems like we're resuming downtrend. I would be short if it was me. This is not advice, by the way. Excuse me. Support at 64.85 once again. As you can see, it seems like that is the tipping point or pivot point here. If it takes out that, well, then we are looking at previous lows here around 63.60. Dollar Canada, interesting move this morning that has starting getting bids again just above the support and 61.8 retracement there. I think we will see it pushing higher in coming weeks. We have the RSI still in positive sentiment, and there's no divergence, so there's actually potential up to 139. Euro Swiss, not really much to say, got rejected at the 786 retracement at just around 98. Dollar Swiss, not much to talk about, also just moving sideways. So let's move on to the dollar index. If it takes out the level at 105.27, meaning below the 38.2 retracement, well, then expect a dip down to around 104.80, 104.67 before we have a bounce. There's still positive sentiment with no divergence, so we should see dollar index pushing higher after a correction. Goals. Is this now that it should do a correction? It couldn't really get momentum above 23.50. Then we could see a push down to the levels we talked about previously, 22.60, 22.55, the 38.2 retracement and 61.8 retracement of these two uptrends here, maybe even lower, but that would be my first target. So, but if it takes out the peak here at 23.53, well, then a push to 2400 is in the cards. Maybe silver is the canary in the coal mine, selling off quite heavily this morning, likely to test the 61.8 retracement at 26.40. Maybe even pushing down to the 786 retracement at 25.50 and support line, previous support line there. So an interesting level. We are RSI is pointing to that, but it's still in a positive sentiment. But I think we will test the 40 threshold. Copper pausing a little bit this morning. We are still, if we move on to the monthly chart here, we have it actually moved to the 463, a little bit higher, 467. There's still potential up to 490 and 500 on copper, but it is a little bit stressed at the moment, I would say. Not much to say on energy, just humming about it. Still in a positive sentiment, positive bullish trend above the rising trend line, still potential up to 93, 94 for Brent crude oil. But an interesting development in cocoa last night. We had a massive sell-off in the cocoa future, taking out straight through the 9,988 support, and next support area is this area here between around 8,500 and 7,800, and I would not be surprised if that is being tested here the next few days. Really massive sell-off there, where it's been warning about it that the uptrend has been a little bit too stretched, really. Can also say the weekly chart, massive spike up there. And then, no, that's sorry, the monthly chart. Let's look at the weekly chart here. Massive sell-off unfolding. So the bubble seems to be bursting quite violently. Finally, let's have a look at the US 10-year Treasury yields. Well, it almost reached the 475. Sorry, yeah. Could slide down to around 450. I don't want to see it taking out 447. The uptrend is intact regardless of what's happening. Stay above the rising trend line or stay above 433, still intact. And there is potential for higher US Treasury yields in the coming weeks. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and happy trading.